Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I have a New Jersey high school coaching legend on the show today, and I can't wait to dive into this guy's past as well as what he's accomplished down here in New Jersey, what he's doing up in Syracuse, and the impact he's made on so many young high school and college football players, across this country. But this I want to say young because he's a lot younger than me, right? He comes from a New Jersey, family. Fair Lawn, New Jersey is where he comes from, but it's a coaching family. And where do you hear the how his entire family is involved with coaching? But and he blames it all on his father, by the way. It's all his father's fault. But this guy was a high school coaching legend at Don Bosco and Bergen Catholic, which, if anybody who's listening doesn't know, those are two of the premier high school football programs, not just in the state of New Jersey, but in the country. They are powerhouse programs. Took his talents to Rutgers and in 2018, and as the tight ends coach, and spent some time as an interim head coach, at Rutgers, and a power program, offensive coordinator, and QB coach, and currently up in Syracuse for the last couple of years. Spent some time as an interim head coach too. Yeah, which is crazy how you're running the program, and current QB coach. And we're going to get into that too, because he's got a couple of cool QBs up there. But welcome to the show, Nunzio Campanile.
Appreciate you having me on, Jeff.
I'm excited, Nunzio, to get into your whole background. I've known a lot about you for a long time. Your family is so well known in the state of New Jersey for high school football, as well as for coaching at all in the college and pro level. But before I get into grilling you, just tell the audience, just give them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, as you said, I grew up in New Jersey. Grew up in Fair Lawn. My dad was a high school youth and high school football coach forever. And I come from a big family. I have three brothers and a sister, all athletes. Sports and football in particular have been a huge part of what we've done our whole life. Personally, I am married for 22 years. I have two sons. My son Michael just turned 19. He's heading to Sacred Heart to play football next year, and my
Yeah, I
son
saw that.
James. Yeah, I'm excited for him. And then my son James is 13. He's a more of a baseball player, but
Okay.
great kid, so I've been really blessed to have a beautiful immediate family, my extended family. I really family is such a huge part of everything that I've done, and I've been coaching. I want to say this is going to be my 28th year
Wow.
coaching. And I think a lot of us. I had no plans to start out as a football coach. It just kind of happened somewhat organically. My dad needed a coach. He asked me to, if I would help him out, and I did. And here I am 28 years later. But there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, and I'm happy to discuss it if you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it was. But I've been really fortunate.
So you played for your dad in high school?
I did. I did. I went to Paramus Catholic High School. My dad was the head coach there for 10, 11 years. So my dad had an interesting. He broke his hand his senior year of high school. Now we're talking like 1962, he graduated in
Okay.
63.
Yep.
And so he started coaching the youth team like a little bit. And then he kept doing it. He didn't go to college, so he couldn't get into high school coaching. But he was like the Bear Bryant of junior football
Yeah.
for like in the 60s and 70s. And
Yep.
then he coached a year or two at Bergen Catholic in the 70s. Then he went back to coaching the kids. And in the late 80s, he got the head coaching job at Patterson Catholic High School. And, uh, you know, he started turning that program around. And then in 1990, he got the Paramus Catholic job, and he coached there for a long time. And then he still coaches. He's going to be 80 this year. He's the freshman
Wow.
coach at Bergen Catholic, my brother. But, and I guess really like my whole life, everywhere I went, I would run into men that were like, man, your father changed my life. Like your
Yeah.
father was one of the most, outside of my dad, the most
Yeah.
influential guy, guys that didn't have dads, like how influential he was. So, that was always, I guess, in the back of my mind. And when I started doing this, it kind of
Yep.
stuck.
So can you just explain to everybody the coaching tree that's going on in your family right now? Like, where is everybody? What are they all doing?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, my dad is the freshman coach at Bergen Catholic. I kind of pried him out of retirement
Yeah.
twice when I was there. I got him to come and coach, and then he actually had like a little battle with cancer. So he didn't coach for a year, a couple
Okay.
of years, and then I kind of pried him back because my mom couldn't stand him being around the house all the time. So
Yep.
he came back, and he's been doing that. I don't know, 10 years he's back doing it, and then. My older brother Vito is the head coach at Bergen Catholic. They've been on like an incredible run. He won a
Yeah.
couple state championships at Westwood High School as the head coach there. He's a phenomenal coach. I think it was a couple years ago. He was National High School Coach of the Year,
Yep.
the U.S. Army Bowl and stuff. And then my brother Nick is the head coach at DePaul Catholic. I think he's been the head coach like 4 years, and they've won two of the last four state championships at their level. It was pretty neat. They finished like 1-2 in the state
Yeah.
last year. And then my brother Anthony just got his first job as a defense coordinator in the NFL. He left being a linebacker coach in Green Bay to be the defense coordinator in Jacksonville. And really excited. My sister, who was three-time All-State New Jersey Player of the Year in volleyball, the whole thing, just took her first head coaching job at Pingree. So that's pretty neat. She's been coaching
Yeah.
club volleyball, and now an opportunity to go and do that. So she'll do an awesome job too. So, obviously it's in our blood. I mean, my parents met. My dad was coaching one of my uncles in youth football, and my
Okay.
mom was, whatever, 18, 19, started, picking them up. And next thing you
Yeah.
know, here we are.
Yeah.
So.
So what's the dinner table like with all you guys in one spot?
It's funny. People always ask, like, "Oh, you guys ever talk about anything else?" I'm like, "I don't know. Is there anything else?" But I think one of the big things is, there's obviously X's and O's talk, but a
Yeah.
lot of it, and really, I think what my dad always excelled at was, the relationship part of coaching and what it means, and honestly, every one of my dad's friends were coaches, like it. So, these men that had this huge impact on my life, like, they were all football coaches, and, I wrestled my whole life too. And, obviously that had a huge impact on
Sure.
me. But I even coached wrestling for 10 years, which was the best job I ever had in my life. But I do think that those conversations, my dad really was one of those guys that I think built lifelong relationships with his players, and you could see what that meant. And he didn't do it by giving out cookies and ice cream. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
pretty tough guy now. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's not really, it's not roses and sunshine every day.
No.
But listen, that's a big part of what I think we all believe, right? Like, people that
Yeah.
love you tell you the truth. People that love you tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to
Right.
hear. And
Well,
uh,
plus today, Nunzio, today the coaching world, it's almost like it's like a cover your butt. You know what I mean?
sure,
In coaching, like I remember, if I go back to, I went to Caldwell High School, and I don't know if you know the name Andy Durbrow,
sure,
but he's been gone for a while. But he was a tough coach, man. I mean, and you know the name Kenny Trimmer?
yeah, of course,
Oh yeah, he was
he's a
one of
legend.
my coaches. Yep.
Yeah,
And I got elected into my high school's Hall of Fame, and he was my inductee guy.
nice.
And it was difficult in the early 80s and late mid 80s to play high school football and college football and that coaching regime. Like it was all about being tough on you, you know. And now the rules and what you can and can't do, and it's kind of like it's almost like the coaches have to tiptoe a little bit.
Well, that's true, but the truth is, like, we play and coach a tough game. So
Yeah,
there's no way around toughness being part of football.
right.
And, one of the things I found was that if we start at a place that players want to be great, right?
Yeah.
If we can come to a common ground that, hey, what are your goals? Well, how are we going to get there? Right. So we got to get there through honest assessment. So sometimes
Mm,
you need people to say hard things to you in order for you to get it, to become the player that you want to be. So I think a lot of it starts with that. You hear this a lot, like that. Uh, they don't care what you know, like, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, like,
yeah. Yep.
and there is a lot to that, right?
Yeah.
Relationship, like when they know you care
Sure.
about them, you can push them, right? It's like kind of like your relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
You don't want to let them down and all that. But I do think that is important. But the other part of that is, if we can always get back to, like, this is the standard is greatness, and
Yeah.
once you set a standard, you never want to go below that. Like, I coached when I was at Bergen. Ed Stinson was my defense coordinator for 2 years, and Ed
Okay.
is a legendary high school coach in New Jersey, mainly at Hoboken. and he coached, a couple other places, but really like incredible, one of the best coaches in New Jersey history. And, even though I was the head coach and he was the assistant, he was very much a mentor to me.
Sure.
But he used to say all the time that, the player, like when we're struggling to get something and he gets it. And he's like, well, now you've set the standard. So we're never going to go below that again because you've proven you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that if it's demeaning and it's, like you're getting after guys and it's personal,
Right.
that's different than, well, hey, we're setting a really high standard and we want to be great, and this is the recipe for becoming great. So
Right.
I think that's a big part of it because I think players want to be great, and
Yeah.
I do think that it's critically important that you're able to push them to be their best. And you got to find a way to do that. It's got to be your way. Like I work with Fran Brown. I think he's an incredible motivator, right? We are in some ways complete opposites and in other ways exactly alike because our beliefs and standards about what's important are the
Yeah.
same. Our upbringing, our background, totally different. But
Yeah.
our the things that are really core values are the same. So it's really easy to work for a guy like him because we believe in the same things. And
Yeah.
we may have a slightly different way of saying things, but in the end, I love working for him because I believe that he has really high standards for the players and
Yeah.
he cares about them tremendously. And those two things, kind of you got to
Go
meet in the
hand in
middle.
hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got to come
absolutely.
together. So what was it like for you to to make that jump from high school to college coaching? Was there a major difference or just see a lot of similarity?
Uh, you know, I would say the biggest transit, I had a great ramp up because I went from being a head coach in a program like Bergen where you're doing everything. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're everything from like, hey, we're making the travel plans to get on a
Yeah.
flight and plan the meals to like, hey, you just got to go coach the running backs or the tight ends. And I'm not diminishing the responsibility of coaching
Sure.
a position. It's just, so I had an opportunity to get like a runway and be like, oh, okay, this is my job. I can focus on being great at coaching, at least the best I could be at coaching those guys. So, Chris Ash gave me a great opportunity. And I really enjoyed working with him. I got to work with John McNulty, who's back at Rutgers. John was a phenomenal coach. Um, and but the job is the job. I think like if you're doing it the right way in high school, it's really not much different. Like, I've called games at this level. Like the
Yeah.
game is the game, like how you prepare. I'm not saying that it's not more nuanced and detailed at this level. It is, but the approach is the same. The technique should be generally the same. I mean, there are certain things that vary based on ability level for sure.
Sure.
Obviously we're coaching some really high level players and coaching
Yeah.
against high level players, but if I gave you the list of some of the best players I coached against as a high school coach, you'd say, "Oh wow, those guys are Hall of Famers." Like
Yeah.
so. So from that standpoint, like I think it wasn't that much different. I would say that the biggest eye opener to me was when I was asked to be the interim head coach. The amount of things that are all of a sudden on your desk
Yeah.
was like, whoa, that was like
Right.
astronomical of, because it wasn't like we were on our way to the national championship. We had a lot of things to get better at,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
on top of it, like now you're stepping into some different issues
Yeah.
but that was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I mean, a lot of
So
things.
what kind of things did they throw at you? Hey, you went from I think you were the tight ends coach at that time,
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then this, okay, now you're going to run the show.
Yeah. So I became the tight ends coach uh, and the offensive coordinator. And then, there was, I mean, like, look, then our quarterback decided to go in the transfer portal, and then our best running back, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, okay, we're not just going to take it over. We have to change because we
Yeah.
got to fit it to the players that we have. So those two responsibilities at once were, um, I mean, I would say like it just was a huge
Yeah.
responsibility to have to handle both of those things because the things that you got to deal with, all the player issues,
Yeah.
you still have to deal with recruiting, running the program. Like, listen, we had a great support system. I mean,
Yeah.
everything like Will Gilkison still at Rutgers is like one of the best
Yeah.
guys in college football. Like, I mean, he's, I mean, he could, if you didn't show up, he'd be able to run the whole thing by
Yeah.
himself. But
Yeah.
but I think all the different things that show up, some of the off the field things that I probably wouldn't necessarily share, but you're like, oh boy, these are issues that,
Yeah.
we have to make sure that we did.
Yeah.
And that's that every college deals with, it wasn't a
Sure.
Rutgers thing, but
How about dealing with the fans? Did you have to deal with them?
yeah, yes. It's funny. One thing that for me, because I was a high school coach, I had dealt with the media a lot.
Yeah.
I think, so that was not a huge issue for me. Like I think
And everybody knew who you were.
yeah, yeah, and I think I was able to communicate it. I didn't feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable when it came to that. Like I feel like one, it's just part of my personality. I think I'm just pretty honest, upfront guy, and I feel comfortable, you know, having to say,
Yeah.
just be honest and hey, this is how we're going to deal with this. But obviously New Jersey, the media can be tough. But
Oof.
the other thing is, what do we really care about? We care about the players and the guys in the
Yeah.
room, and listen, you got great fans that stick with you through. I mean, I think we went 2-10 that year, so it wasn't
Yeah.
like, and a lot of those fans did a great job of like staying with our guys, and the kids played really hard all the way through. But yeah, dealing with the media, dealing with some of the kids the things that kids have to deal with, social media and all that stuff. That was hard for those guys at the end of the year, but they did an awesome job.
Yeah. How did that experience, being like you were just thrown into the spotlight. How did that help you grow as a coach? Was that helpful, or was that like, oh my God, maybe I don't want to be a head coach one day? Like, how did that help you?
No, it was incredibly helpful. Just it gave me a great like 360-degree view of what the job entails, and like
Yeah.
what are the things that you're ready for and what
Yeah.
are the things that you're not. And that was honestly like one of my biggest things in staying to work for Coach Shiano was yeah, I think he's a phenomenal head coach, and you know I got 3 years up close and personal of how to, you know, organize and run a really top level program. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a phenomenal coach, he's a phenomenal planner, his organizational skills, his teaching skills. Like there are a lot of things that I had been doing my entire coaching career, and maybe I didn't really have a way to articulate that to everyone else. And he helped give me a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So being in that spot kind of helped me realize like, hey, these are things you're ready for. These are things
Yeah.
you got to get a lot better at if you want to be able to handle all these things. And honestly, to run a program at this level, it takes a bunch of people.
Oh
It
yeah.
takes a great support staff. It takes great assistant coaches, and
You don't realize how many people are behind the scenes. Because if you go on to like the Syracuse website,
no
right?
doubt,
There's got to be like 100 people on, I don't know, maybe more on the
yeah.
staff.
Our
You know,
support staff is
it's huge.
tremendous. I mean, how many people and how good they are at their jobs is great.
Yeah. And that it's like people just see the game, and they don't even understand like the staff are just running the game itself. I don't mean on
Right.
the field. I mean just like the whole stands. It's like it's an army of people to put on a football game.
It sure is. I mean, travel, the whole thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
it's impressive what they do.
Yeah. And, like the travel, like who organizes all the plane tickets? Like
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's
No, yeah, no doubt. This.
yeah. I mean, you guys take over a whole plane.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm surprised like every college doesn't have their own chart, their own jet with the school name on it.
Well, I'm sure if it was cost effective, they would do it. So I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
there's a reason they don't. But
you're probably right. So when you were in high school, let's go back there a little bit. At Bosco and Bergen, you had some really good quarterbacks, right?
yes,
Now, how many of those guys went to the elite college level, and I'm sure a couple of them went to the NFL level too, right?
yeah. I want to say 5 of them went to the NFL. One as a receiver, but so at Bosco. Steve Levy went to Cal. He was our first guy. He was phenomenal. He ended up being Aaron Rodgers' backup.
Yep.
He was a great player for us. Then we had Mike Teal, who's like
Yep.
Rutgers all-time leading passer.
Yep.
And Mike played for the Seahawks and maybe the Patriots. I don't remember who else he played for. But he got
Okay.
drafted by the Seahawks. And
Yep.
then after Mike, we had Matt Sims, who went
Yep.
to Louisville and Tennessee. He played like 7, 8 years in the NFL.
Yep.
Matt was a phenomenal player. Then after Matt, we had Brett Knief, who Brett was an elite player, great player, but he went to North Carolina and Florida State to play baseball. But he
Okay.
could he could have been a division, but he was what a player. I mean, I think he was like the North Jersey Player of the Decade or something. I don't know,
Okay.
quarterback. He was great.
Yep.
Then we had Gary Nova, who was at
Yep.
Rutgers.
Yep.
Then I left. and we had a kid, Mike Yankovic, played really more after me, but he played at William and Mary. And then I left and went to Bergen. We had Tanner McAvoy, and Tanner played at South Carolina and Wisconsin. He was playing quarterback, got injured, moved to safety, back to quarterback, but he ended up playing in the NFL as a receiver.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Dolphins, maybe the Bills. I don't know, a few
Yeah.
teams. Um, Geez. Then after Tanner, we had John Germano, who was the New Jersey Player of the Year. He played it. He was a All-American at Johns Hopkins, and an incredible player. And he's a
Yeah.
coach now. He actually coached with me here at Syracuse for a
Okay.
year, but now he's back at Bergen Catholic. And these guys are all gonna be pissed if I say this, but he might have been the best high school player out of all of them. I mean, he
Really?
just was 5'10", or at least on a good day, he was 5'10".
Yeah.
And then we had Colin McGovern, who played at Stetson in Florida, and
Yep.
then Jarrett Garantano, who played at Tennessee, and then he played for the Denver Broncos, and then he played in that UFL or whatever.
Yep.
Then we had Johnny Langan, who ended up playing tight end at Rutgers. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess 4 or 5 of those guys ended up getting a chance in the NFL.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Now, how about you, especially at Bergen, the offensive linemen there are monsters.
yeah.
Right? How many of those guys made it to the next level?
Oh boy, in my time at Bergen, Brian Felter, who's at Rutgers now, I
Yep.
think will next year. I'm not sure if we had another O line. We had a couple others. Like Garrett Dickerson was a tight end that went. Like I said, Jarrett went. It's hard to make it to the NFL, man.
I
There,
know.
there was a few. I mean, at Bosco, Justin Trotter was defensive lineman. As I said, the
Yep.
quarterbacks that I'd mentioned, Michael Ray Garvin, Brian Toll,
Yep.
some injuries, but he had, a little bit of a career. Corey Wooten played, a long time as a defensive lineman, but he played tight end for us at
Yeah.
Bosco. He was a great player. There was a bunch of them.
Yeah. Brian Toll, man, he got banged up a lot, right?
I will say this. I coached high school football in New Jersey for 20 years. He's the best player I've ever seen. I don't,
Really?
if he stayed healthy, I mean, he was a two-way player in the ACC, whatever the Big East, ACC, Big
Yeah.
East freshman of the year. He
Yeah.
was incredible. I mean, fast and tough and
Yeah.
physical, and that at least that I coached. I mean, I
Yeah.
coached against a couple great ones. I mean,
Yeah. So what did he blow out his knees? Is that what happened to him?
no, I think he had a shoulder injury, and then he broke his ankle or leg or something. Like just really
Yeah.
stuff that was nothing you could do about.
Yeah.
Like just tough luck. I mean,
Yeah.
he was killing it. He was
Yep.
probably going to be an All-American, and then
Yeah. He was good.
yeah,
He was good, you know. So how about let's talk recruiting for a second. You
sure,
you get heavily involved in recruiting, right?
sure, you have to.
So what's that like today? I mean, if I go back to my crazy days of a gazillion years ago, like the coaches couldn't talk to you until your senior year, and yeah, they sent letters. And then you got an offer or two, and you went. Now it's like you're talking to these kids in like eighth grade almost, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, it's crazy. I try not to get into it, but I've had quite a few. Like, my son, my younger son I only know because he's my son that he's a
Yeah,
2030, right? He'll graduate.
yeah,
So I have kids that'll like hit me up on social media and they're like 2031 quarterback, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what to say to that. Like, and the kid might be a great player, and it's like he's 5'7". Well, I don't know. Maybe 5'7's a tall sixth grader. I don't know.
yeah,
But you're a sixth grader. Like, I do think that uh on the one hand, you want to take advantage of every relationship you have and use, all the things that are available to all the things at your disposal. So like, you use relationships. The longer you know someone, the better chance you have to build a relationship and get to know them. And on the other hand, like if it were my son, I just want him to go play Pop Warner football or freshman
yeah,
football and go, like,
yeah,
but at the same, I say that, but at the same time, I mean, I've offered guys that are like rising freshmen, like that. That's part
yeah,
of our job sometimes, and
right,
like you make a calculation and you say, well, this guy's this talented at this stage of his
right.
career. We think he's going to be that.
So when you offer a guy who's a freshman, sophomore in high school, like what does that really mean for people that are listening? If they say, "Yeah, coach, I'm coming. I'm loving it. That's great." It really doesn't mean anything until they sign, right?
Theoretically, yes. Yeah. And I think it's probably different at every school and every offer. I mean, I think that we try our best to give committable offers, but there are times when it's like, okay, yeah, we're seriously recruiting you, but like, especially at quarterback, like,
Yeah,
uh, it's your whole program, so
yeah,
like you have to make sure that you're taking the right guy and the right player. So you really need to build relationships. So
yeah,
sometimes it's like, yeah, there's 5 or 6 of these guys out there and they're all elite players, and you know you got to build relationships. You got to
yeah.
find out, are you the right fit for them and they're the right fit for you. I
Right.
mean, that's definitely a two-way
Yeah.
street. And
Yep.
we tell them all the time, like, look, you're interviewing us in everything we do. We're like, we want them to come to camp. Like, well, we've already offered you. Like, well, yeah, because you get to see how I coach. You
Yeah.
get to see, like, can I help make you better? Can I help you
Right.
accomplish
Yeah.
your goals and dreams? And I'm sure everybody's trying to do that. But you know,
So what if you're out there recruiting, what are you looking for? You're the quarterback coach. You're making the decision on who's going to be the leader of this team either next year or the next 4 years. When you're out there, when your eyes are on somebody, what are you looking for?
well, I think that the first thing is you're looking for the physical skills, and
Yep.
you know. I heard Coach Chiano say this many times. You got to have at least like one elite trait that separates you. I do believe that that is true.
Yeah.
Um, but you're looking for, you know, certain physical skills. I think the hardest thing at quarterback is evaluating their ability to process and make
Mm,
decisions. And then, because there's a lot of guys out there that in shorts and a t-shirt can go out and wow you. And you'd say like, oh, wow, this guy can really,
yeah.
throw it. But there's so much that goes into quarterback, like your ability to, obviously handle pressure and all the things that are
Yeah.
going on around you, but your ability to make decisions, your ability to get your body in position to deliver the ball accurately and on time, you know, uh, consistently over and over again is
Yeah.
really hard. And that to me it's probably why so many quarterbacks are missed on, because there are a lot of guys that can, they have everything you're looking for, just when push comes to shove, like the game goes really fast. And when
Yeah.
you take that step up to the next level, how do you know? And you're really trying to gauge, like, some guys are in really elite offenses in high school.
Yeah.
Other guys are in really simple offenses. Well, do you want to do you want to not take a guy that has elite talent because he hasn't been exposed to something like that? That may be because he can't handle it, or it may be
Yeah.
because it's just not what they do. Like, you got a team, they win a ton of games. Like, who am I to criticize somebody for, running the ball 80% of the time
Yeah.
or playing in the wing tee, or, like,
Yeah.
those are things that are, you do whatever you need to do at your high school to win games. And we got to evaluate, like, hey, can this guy help us win the ACC championship
Yeah.
and get us to the college football playoff? And, so I think it is not a really clean process. I think you really dig deep on the character, the leadership, confidence, ability to deal with adversity,
Yeah.
because that it's coming. That's just
Oh
nature
yeah.
of well, life, and certainly the position of playing
Yeah.
quarterback. So
Now, do the high schools still run wing tees anymore?
not many, but you still run into it.
Because it's funny that you brought that up because that's what we did when I was in high school.
Yeah.
We did the wing. I think we threw the ball like twice, and the rest of the time we just running, and we won the state championship doing it. You know?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, but in the end, like, whatever you do, like,
Yeah.
if you're in the spread triple option and you're running, like, you're 4 wideouts, but you're running the ball,
Yeah.
so like that may not be the easiest way to evaluate a quarterback, but
Yeah.
I also can't blame a coach for doing what,
Yeah.
gives
What
him the best
works?
chance to win.
Yeah. So are you allowed to kind of? I'm just going to put you on the spot. Are you allowed to say, "Hey, I got my eye on this guy coming out of this high school in New Jersey," or no? That's like
No,
top
no, we're
secret.
not we're not allowed to discuss any
No.
until they're signed.
Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah.
you got your eyes on some good kids,
Oh yeah. Lots of
right?
them.
Now,
All
are
over
you
the
are
place.
you primarily Northeast? Or are you countrywide?
So I recruit area locally, like mainly like North Jersey and New York City area, and
Okay.
then I recruit nationally for quarterbacks. But
Okay.
what happens is, like, hey, if you got a quarterback at some school in Dallas and they got a wideout, then you might be recruiting that guy
Yeah.
too, or other guys in
Yep.
that backyard.
Yeah.
If you're going to be there, you might as well
Yeah.
area.
So now, have you found by looking at other quarterbacks, have you found other kids that hey, that kid's pretty good lineman, or that guy's a good receiver, good running back. We got to get him too.
Yeah, I guess that happens for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it certainly opens, because say you're going out to, I don't know, pick an area. We're going to Baton Rouge. Like
yeah.
Syracuse is not really recruiting Baton Rouge a whole lot, or,
No,
whatever.
no.
Maybe, Cincinnati or something. You say, like, hey, there's a great quarterback over there. Well, obviously, there's a lot of great football in these areas.
Yeah,
So you'd say, all right, well, we're going to spend a day or two there,
yeah,
watching this guy throw. Well, we might as well see all these great programs, and that way you certainly do. You know what I think happens more than you kind of see, like, hey, is there a genuine interest? Like, would they be willing to travel
yeah.
this distance and that type of.
Right. Now, how is it with recruiting? How is it with the families today? Do they make it more difficult than it used to be?
I don't, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think that I mean, the family better be involved in the decision, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
the people that have helped get them there. I mean, obviously, there's new things that have happened, especially in the NIL world, and that's like
yeah,
an ever-changing cycle. And
right.
that has probably made things. Um, I don't want to say more difficult. In some ways, maybe it makes it easier because it's very cut and dry. It is what
Yeah,
it is. Like,
right.
we don't want to recruit you on NIL. We want to recruit you on relationships, fit,
Sure.
education, the culture of our program. But
Yeah,
at the same time, we live in the real world, so we know that
yeah,
that is part of, and we certainly don't begrudge the kids getting paid. It's just like,
yeah,
okay, if it's just about the money, we're probably not the spot for a guy. But if
right,
it's
right.
about the development, the relationships, the
Yeah,
experience, and then on top of it, if we can make it work, then yeah, that's great. But we want to recruit them to want to be at Syracuse, and then
yeah,
but we also know, like, hey, that's in the real world. Like, we don't
yeah.
we don't shy away from the conversations.
Now, do you get a lot of nice local guys up there too, or no?
Local to Syracuse or local
Yeah,
to the Northeast? Both,
local
because we
to
have both.
Syracuse.
We have both. Yeah. I mean, I think we brought in 4 guys from Syracuse last year,
Okay.
which is pretty good.
Yeah,
And they're good young. We are very into, like, recruiting the Northeast. I mean, obviously New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, the DMV, and then New England. So
yeah. Now,
obviously
do
New
the kid
York is critical.
do,
We got to get some of the best players in New York.
do the kids up there grow up wanting to play at Syracuse?
I'm sorry, I lost you there for a
I
second.
said, do the kids up there, the young guys growing up, do they grow up saying, "Hey, I want to play at Syracuse"? Like the kids out at Alabama, "Hey, I want to play at Alabama." Like the kids locally up there, do they grow up saying, "Hey, I want to put on the orange"?
I think for a long time they have, and maybe not as much, the last 15 years as, like, say, the older fans, but
Yeah,
um, I think we're really doing a really good job of bringing that back. I mean, Coach Fran has done so many things to get, like, the youth camps and clinics, getting our players out in the city and the surrounding towns.
yeah,
Um, and I think there's a real connection between our program and our city. I think there's
yeah,
always been, but I think it's at a really amplified level right now. And if we can continue having success, I mean, that's kind of the goal. And then, we got a bunch of guys on the staff that have kids that are, in that age group,
yeah,
so that's a great way to kind of get kids around. And so
yeah,
it's actually a lot of fun. I mean, seeing how into Syracuse football the community has
yeah,
been,
yeah.
it's been, like,
How about Donovan? Does
exciting.
he come back much?
He
Donovan
came back
McNabb?
last Yeah, he came back last year for a couple days, spent some time with the QB, spent some time with the team. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
He's
What is he doing these days? Is he out there doing stuff?
he lives in Arizona, I believe, but
Okay.
I'm not totally sure what he does. I mean, he
I'll
seemed
tell
like
you,
a nice little dude.
I don't know how far back you remember, but I remember watching him play up there.
Yeah, for sure. We're about the same age, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I
he was like, holy crap,
yeah,
and then what he did on the Eagles,
yeah. I was a diehard Giant fan, so that was hard, but he was a heck of a
painful,
player. Yeah.
right? So, so, so I'm gonna put you on the spot for a second, is and say your most memorable moment. I'm gonna ask you three places: high
Okay.
school, Rutgers, Syracuse. What like if you could put your finger on one moment in each spot, like this man, this just was amazing.
Um, High school. Geez. We had man, so many great.
Yeah.
games at Bergen, like so many. Uh, and I would say that probably the first time we beat Don Bosco was a really, really big event for our school. Like I'd beat him like once in like 13 years or something, and they're arch rivals. But in all honesty, the biggest moment I ever had as a high school coach was when I was the offense coordinator at Don Bosco and we beat De La Salle. We were losing 21-7. We came back, we won 23-21. And what that did for New Jersey football on a national scale
Right.
was really incredible. It really brought attention to like how good the football we were playing
Yeah.
was. And I think after that, that league really, really took off. It's always
Right.
were great players in that league, but by the time I became the head coach at Bergen, like the talent level at Bosco, Bergen, St. Joe's, DePaul,
Yeah.
St. Peter's Prep. I mean, it was off the charts. And then you Paramus Catholic, all of a sudden, they've became tremendous. It became,
Yeah.
like top player in the country, I think 2 years, like so.
Yeah.
I feel like that win was a catalyst for a lot of that. So
Okay.
that was probably the biggest moment. Like I don't know if it was most personal, but at Rutgers, I while I was the interim head coach, we beat Liberty, and it was kind of we had a rough couple of weeks, so it was a really, really cool win
Yeah.
for our guys. I thought that was a lot of fun, and when I was the interim offensive coordinator, we beat Indiana. Like we worked really hard to kind of those were both like really cool events. But like it was the first couple of years, it was tough going. Like
Yeah.
with Coach Shiano, we obviously made great strides. We didn't get to exactly where we wanted to, but obviously they're on their way.
Yeah.
They kind of went, hey, the next year,
Yeah.
bowl, so they're obviously doing that. So that's a tough ass league now, but he's a hell of a football coach, and so yeah, I mean those were two great days, and here when we beat Miami last year. I'm going to go back for a second. When I was at Bergen Catholic, we had so many great football games in the 8 years I was there. Like, I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Like, I used to think, like, man, people paid $5 to see this game.
Yeah.
Like, like there's people paying, I don't even know, $1,500 to sit in these like 50-yard line at the Giants versus the
Yeah.
Eagles. And we're playing St. Joe's and it's 38-37, and we're playing St. Peter's and it's 48-42. And we're, like the games were incredible.
Yeah.
And, um, when we beat Miami last year, I would say
Was that in Miami?
it was in the dome. We were down
Okay.
21-0. It was the last game of the year. If they win, they're going to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And that was the most I felt like that team really was the most I felt like a high school team. And I would say one of the biggest things for me when I was at Bergen and I got offered the job at Rutgers, I had a discussion with a college coach that was, kind of a mentor of mine, and he was like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm not sure." And he said, "Well, what do you think?" He said, "Well, how old are you?" I was 40 years old, and he said, "Well, obviously you want to be a college head coach." He's like, the clock's ticking, and he's like, at the time there were 14 teams in the Big Ten. He's like, 10 coaches, 140 of these jobs in the world. He's like,
Yeah.
and you got one, so you probably ought to go. Like, whatever
Yeah.
your misgivings are and how much I loved my job, it was still, and
It was time.
so and in that time, what I really thought was, and I still think this, that what we had as a high school coach, the culture, how much the players loved each other, how much the coaches loved the players, how much um, it never felt like a business ever, ever. Like it was like, hey, we are investing in each other's lives and we are going to do everything we can to make
Mm.
these guys the best people and players they could be. And what I really have always believed is the kids would come back and they'd be like, Coach, this is awesome. We're playing all these great games, but it's not like it was at Bergen. It's not like it was at Bosco. Like they don't, it's not the same. The
Yeah.
relationships aren't the same. The team, because there's a lot of self-interest that gets involved in it. And
Oh, yeah.
last year's team was the closest team I've been on since I've been a college coach. Like my thought was we can take this and do this in college. And if you do, like your advantage, because your culture is so much stronger, it's so much deeper than everyone else,
Yeah.
because everybody, like my mantra is always been like, you show each other how much you care by how hard you play. Like if I love my
Yeah.
team, then I play really hard for them. Like when you turn on the television, you say, "Oh man, look at how hard those guys play for one another." Like that's what you want as a football
Yeah.
coach. Like when you
Right.
shake hands with the other coach, you want it to be like, "Man,
You
you guys
guys are
just,
tough.
like." And last year's team, as we went, we just kept getting tougher and tougher. We had some tough losses, but the
Yeah.
kids never flinched. They just kept going. And that game was like the culmination of that. Like it was the first time it felt like, yeah, this is exactly what you want in your
Yeah.
football team. Like it was really an awesome experience. So that was undoubtedly, in the 8 years I've been coaching college football, like the moment where you're like, yeah, that's what it's all about.
Wow. So I got to ask you this crazy question. What was it like going into Shiano's office and saying, Coach, I'm leaving?
Um,
Was that hard to do?
yes and no. Without getting like too personal about it, like
Yep.
he gave me a great opportunity in the middle of the year to step in as the offensive coordinator, and we kind of discussed it at the time. Like, look, if this doesn't work out, it just you can't be like the interim head coach and the interim offensive coordinator. Then like,
Yeah.
and to be honest, like we didn't have enough success. Like we couldn't get it turned around. He needed to do what he needed to do, and I understand the business, and I didn't want to go back to being the tight end coach there. One, I thought that would be unfair for even whoever he hired.
Yeah.
Those are weird. So um, when the season ended, we had a great conversation. I mean, like I said, I think the world of him. And I think he's a phenomenal coach and it's been great to me. And we just kind of both knew, like, okay, we'll see how this goes, but probably going to move on. So it was never contentious in any way. Like I said, I just it's a little bit, I needed to do what was best for me, and he
Yeah.
needed to do what was best for Rutgers, and that was cool.
So it's mutual,
Yeah,
mutual part. See you later.
absolutely.
All right. So how did you end up at Syracuse? Now, were they beating down your door? Or how'd that work
No, it
out?
was kind of funny. I knew two guys that were here really well. I didn't know Coach Babers at all, and they needed some ties into North Jersey, and those two guys were actually leaving.
Okay.
And so they were kind of like, hey, this would be a really seamless transition if we could get you up here, kind of help build some relationships in North Jersey and New York City and that type of stuff.
Okay.
And at the same time, they needed a coach on the offensive side of the ball. And I had coached tight ends, so I mean it was an easy transition. I went into tight ends, and then when Fran got here, I moved over
Right.
to quarterback.
Right. So what was the most, let's say, difficult transition for you to go from a Jersey, I'm just going to put it out there, Jersey legend, high school legend, your family is just legendary. You hear that a million times, to go up to Syracuse where nobody really knows who you are, probably, right?
Yeah, I didn't know. The one thing that was interesting, the staff didn't really have any guys or a lot of guys really from the Northeast.
Okay.
And so I think that was important. At Syracuse, like we're a regional school, like we're going to recruit the Northeast. We're going to,
Yeah.
so from a relationship standpoint, I think that was important. I think what had to happen when I first got here was um, I had to build relationships with coaches I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
And so that part was definitely unique. But they were great guys. I mean, Jason Beck, who's now the OC at Utah, he was, great young offensive coordinator. Steve Farmer's O-line coach. Mike Johnson, who's stayed with us here, and he's the tight ends coach now, phenomenal. And Mike Lynch was the running back coach, and he had been here a long time, and he's one of like the best human beings you'll ever meet. I think he's at Nevada right now. So really, just a great group of guys, and
Yeah.
really none of us knew each other.
Okay.
So it was a cool thing where like we kind of had to work together. And Jason is a really easy guy to work with, like really open minded. So we kind of worked together for a year. Um, Unfortunately, at the end of the year, they let Coach Babers go, and they asked me to be an interim coach, which I was like, for a week, you can do anything, but we didn't really change anything. Jason
Yeah.
called the offense, Rocky Long called the defense, and kind of.
Was it the same atmosphere when you were interim at Rutgers as you were up there? Was it
No,
just
totally different. Like, at Rutgers, you're taking over the team.
yeah,
It was 9 weeks. It was 8 games. It was
yeah.
10 weeks. It was, that was a job. You know what I'm
That was
saying?
the whole yeah, the whole season
Yeah, here it
practically.
was like a week.
Okay.
And then I had to coach the bowl game, and that was really tough because we had a lot of attrition on our team.
Yeah.
But the regular season, we had to win a game. The kids were motivated because to win the game, we got to the bowl game. So it
Yeah.
was really it was a cool, I don't know, what would you say, bittersweet, because obviously the coach who they love and recruited him and brought him there was let go, but at the same
Yeah.
time, they had an opportunity to do something together and go out and win a game and
Yeah.
get themselves to a bowl game, and we did that, and that was cool. But yeah, you had to really just look. It's relationship building, and
Yeah.
that's what coaching is, right? It's a
Yeah.
huge part of it. So.
So what advice can you give to the younger high school coach who has aspirations to become to get into that next level elite college football? What advice can you give them, right? And then the next question is, what advice can you give to the old you, not that older, but the older you who was new in college football and that type of progression?
So, well, the first part is be where your feet are.
Yeah.
Like, be elite at your job. And you know, don't be in a rush. Like, I don't know if, look, my path may have hurt me. Like, there were a couple GA opportunities when I was young in my 20s, about 30, like, and they just didn't work out. And I was in a great place at Don Bosco, and I had a, young family, and you go from whatever, making a good living to, being a GA, making $15,000 with a wife and a
Yeah.
kid. Like, that's not easy, but,
That's not hard. That's not
I
easy.
could have done that. But it just didn't work out. I ended up going the way it went. But, um, I learned so much on my journey. One, I got to coach so much football.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're a GA and you're an analyst, like, you're someone's assistant all the time.
Yeah.
Um, if you're a young wide receiver coach, you know, go be a great wide receiver coach and learn the game. Learn what the other side's doing, learn what the O line's doing, learn what's, like,
Yeah.
I was really fortunate. I ended up in a weird situation at Don Bosco where somehow at 22 or 23 years old, I ended up the offensive coordinator of this team. My dad had a falling out with the guy at Paramus Catholic, and they let him go. We were all coaching there. My younger brothers were playing there, and my brother Vito and I went to work for Greg Toll at Don Bosco.
Yep.
Um, the offense coordinator leaves, gets a principal's job. So they're like, "Hey, all right, you guys are going to do it." Nunzio coached the quarterbacks. Vito was actually coach the O line, and then Vito gets an opportunity to go GA for Chip Kelly at New Hampshire, and Ryan Day was the quarterback. So, like, this, like, small world, right? These guys end up being,
Yeah.
like, two of the best in the world at what they do.
Yeah.
But so now I'm kind of by myself, and Coach Toll says to me, he's like, "Yeah, you're a smart kid." He's like, "We'll be okay. I'll help you with the run game. We'll get it going." And I ended up in this job, like, incredible job. Like, who's going to get that job at 22 years old? Like, it just,
Yeah.
but in a weird way, I played against Greg as a high school player. Um, and we lost this, like, legendary game to them 34-28 on the last play of the game. And I happened to have played really well. And I think I made an impression on him as
Yeah.
a kid. And so he kind of gave me, like, a runway as a player. And
Yeah.
um, we spent 10 incredible years together. Like, he was an incredible mentor about what it really takes to win in football.
Yeah.
Everything from, like, the attitude of your team, the culture of your team, to the X's and O's, and the really more the fundamentals, right? It was kind of he was kind of an old school conservative guy, and he let me do all these crazy things
Yeah.
because he knew that I was always going to be a maniac about those old school fundamentals too. I was never going to try and get outside his beliefs about what wins, because I shared those beliefs. I still do. So anyway, it's kind of roundabout way of saying, like, I ended up in this weird spot, and I was really fortunate. But I read something that Joe Paterno said when I was in, like, my early 20s, that kind of said, like, the best way to get the job you want is be great at the job that you have.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And when I left Don Bosco to go to Bergen Catholic, I kind of figured like, hey, the college football thing just never really worked out, the right opportunity. So I'm going to go do this and try and build the best football team in the country. And honestly, I thought our team was on our way. Like we were, by last year, we were really good, but the next year we were going to be really, really good. And you see what they've become. I mean,
Yeah.
they've really just become like an absolute powerhouse. And,
Yeah.
my brother Vito's done an incredible job there and the players, the staff. But I still would always say, like, just be great at your job.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes guys are so worried about getting the next job, they're not really doing all the things they can to make themselves great at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And everybody's playing, Madden football and whatever NCAA football, and they think they're ready to call the plays. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, just let's be great at what you do. Like
Yeah.
you got to know, there's so much that goes into being a great
Yeah.
coach or a great play call or great whatever. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's big. So what's the biggest challenge you face today
um,
as a coach?
yeah. Geez, I think the biggest thing that we face in a lot of ways is um, the world has told kids, uh, it's been going this way for a long time, but especially in the last like 5, 6 years, that, you got to go for yours and it's all about me.
Yeah.
And we coach the ultimate team game.
Yeah.
And so there's a challenge in getting your players to understand that we have to all sacrifice for each other. That's the nature of the game of football. And
Yeah.
I've heard some guys say like, "Oh, invest, don't sacrifice." Like I actually think that's BS. I'm like, we sacrifice. We give up the things that we want to do so that we can accomplish the things that we need to do. Like I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many, and that's a really big part of the game of football. It's always been. It was when you were playing, when I was playing, and it'll be, when my
Yeah.
grandkids are playing. And um, I think that that's one of the hardest things, in a world where, you know, everyone wants to get paid, everyone like
Yeah.
all those things are
It's
great, but like,
immediate gratification.
right. But the truth is like you have to earn that. And you have to earn
Yeah.
it every day. Like we've
Yeah.
turned it into a job in a lot of ways. Like something that was a labor of love has
Yeah.
become a job and doesn't mean that you can't still love it. You absolutely
Right.
can still love it. So like we spend a lot of time here on the culture of getting guys to buy into each other, to care
Yeah.
about each other. Fran talks about, committed care and trust all the time. Like, and it's a big thing we were talking to players about today. Like, what does it mean to care about each other? And
Yeah.
so um, I think that that's the biggest challenge, though, that you face.
Yeah. So how about the portal? Yeah, what are your thoughts on the portal? I mean, the world has changed. If I go back a million years, you could transfer once and you had to sit out and whatever it was. And now it's anybody can go anywhere, anytime, right? How is that helping you guys? Is that kind of hindering you guys? Is it a little bit of both?
I guess it's a little bit of both, but I think it has helped us here. Why? Because the right players that believe in what we're doing want to stay.
Yeah,
They want to stay and build and get better.
right.
And the guys that look, here's the thing. Uh, the portal probably has hurt way more guys than it's helped. So I've always said, like, I think it's great that they have some control and an option to do what's best for their career. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean they should always take that option. Like
yeah,
sometimes you just got to battle through the hard to get to where you want to be. And if I
yeah,
transfer 3 times, I never really get to grow in a system and coaches and so we work really hard on relationship building so guys understand that yeah, you can stay here and
yeah,
invest and it's not happening yet, but it's going to happen and um and then bringing in the right people, I mean, I think bringing in people that people that maybe you recruited before, people that you understand. Like we had a lot of success last year, and I think we'll have a lot of success this year with guys that maybe are from our backyard that, went somewhere else and realized like the grass isn't greener than,
yeah,
and that's a great thing. And
yeah,
so uh, I, I always think like, what's the sense of complaining about it? It's part of our reality. So we
yeah,
just got to deal with it.
yeah, yeah. So how about on the coaching staff? Any new guys come in?
Yeah, we had a young receiver coach, Ross Douglas, leave and go to Oregon. He's a phenomenal young coach. He's going to do awesome. He actually, we worked together at Rutgers. He
Okay.
was Fran's GA. He played grad transferred to Rutgers as a DB, and then was with us at Rutgers for a couple years on the coaching staff, and then moved his way around to New England. A great young coach. And we brought in Miles White, who's a receiver coach. He was with my brother in Green Bay, and he's another excellent young coach. Like, was a great player. Played 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, in the NFL, and then
Yeah.
got into coaching. And he's going to be a superstar. He's really good football guy, really good technician, and
Yeah.
he's a great relationship builder. So he'll be a really good recruiter.
Cool. So how's the season looking? You guys jacked up, excited, ready to go?
Yeah, we're super excited. I mean, we have a great schedule, like super challenging, but that's really what you look for, right? I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
what you're doing it for. I think we play 4 teams that were in the playoffs last year. It'll be really exciting. We open up with Tennessee. It's going to be a lot of fun. And,
Is that
we
down there
think
or up by the dome?
it's actually in Atlanta.
Okay.
So, a neutral site, but I'm not sure how neutral that is. But
It's in
uh,
the Mercedes-Benz.
yeah, exactly. So that'll be a lot of fun. And,
I wonder why they picked there.
I think they'd run like some sort of kickoff classic type
Yeah,
thing every
okay.
year.
All right.
So it just happened to be
When's that game?
August 30th.
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, feels like it.
Oh my God. So when's camp starting?
I guess the players report like end of July and but start, a couple days later.
All right, so a couple weeks, it's go
Yeah,
time,
no
you
doubt.
know? So I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but you know, what's your future looking like coaching wise? What's the aspiration? Are you allowed to get into that, or is that like, hey, you know what, we'll talk about that another time?
No, yeah, I obviously I'd love to be a head coach,
Yeah,
so like whatever moves I'd make in my career would really be about that. But it's also very much about being the right job. Like, I
yeah,
actually love where I am. Like, I love the location, but more importantly, I love the people that I work for. I mean, I love Fran, I
yeah,
really do. For a lot of the reasons I mentioned before, I think that he's just a great guy, and he's a challenging guy. He's a tough guy. I mean, you know, uh, I think that he's doing great things here, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. So
yeah,
it would take a lot for me to, leave working with him. It'd have to
right.
be the right job. Like, I am not a believer. Just like I talked about the transfer portal, like, I think it's the same thing for coaches. So many
Yeah,
guys hurt themselves by jumping and taking jobs just for, a paycheck or a title.
yeah,
And it's like, well, I don't know. Is that really what you believe in? Is that really a guy that you want to work with? Is that,
right.
like, I think that, I'm really fortunate to work with somebody that I believe in. I'm
Yeah,
fortunate to work with somebody that, and our offensive coordinator Jeff Nixon is another just phenomenal human being, incredible guy to work with, and a great football coach.
yeah.
So really, and we have a great staff. I mean, we have like really good people. So I think
That's
that's a
good.
big part of it. I think you never say no to anything. You're
Yeah,
open-minded, but I won't take a job just to chase money, and I won't take a
yeah.
job just to chase a title. It would have to be the right thing.
That's great. So let's fast forward a little bit, you know, and really we can look back as well. But when somebody hears your name, just your name, not the family name, but your name, how do you want to be remembered when it's all done?
Um, as an honest guy that loved his players, invested in them,
Yeah,
cared about them, and helped them become better men. Uh, through this game. I mean, I think, like I told you, my dad, I know that's what he's been his whole life. He's made an incredible impact on that. So, I want to be somebody that's known as a great father, great husband.
yeah,
My family's incredibly important to me. I've always talked to the players about, I want, whatever. I'm 48 years old. I still want to make my parents proud of me. But I also now I want to make my wife and kids proud of me. I want them to be able to feel like, what, we've done. My family sacrificed a lot. I mean, I lived away from my family for 2.5 years while my son was graduating high school. I have incredible appreciation and respect for my wife and 2 sons for, allowing me to do this.
so they're still back down here?
Well, yeah, now they're all up here in New York, but because Michael's
Okay.
going to college, but until he
Yeah.
graduated. So, um, Yeah, but I mean, I think in the end, I think the same things I want my team to be known for, I would want people to say about me, that I was, honest, hardworking, elite competitor. And, more than anything, that, I made my life about other people, about investing in other people. And,
Right.
whether that's my family, whether that's the players I coach. And, that's big to me.
I think that's already your legacy.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it. And I don't know you, you don't know me, but we know of each other. And when I hear your name in the high school, especially about the high school, your family name in the high school world down here, I don't think there's a bigger name, and what all the guys who I've talked to, especially the guys at Rutgers that I know, I mean, they think the world of you. You
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's always nice to say it's when people truly care is when they talk about you in the right way when you're not around.
Yeah, yeah,
You
right.
know what I mean? And that's when things are good.
What's funny is my dad, like, because I said, like, his background, like, he didn't go to college, so he couldn't be a high school coach um, until he went to the private schools. So, but
Yeah.
he had to work his way up. So he was a youth football coach. So when he became a high school head coach, it was kind of countercultural. Like, this crazy Italian guy with his
Yeah.
sleeves cut off and he's yelling and screaming at everybody. And they're like, this guy's a, like he's a peewee football coach. What's he doing? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, he's got Prams Catholic in the state championship and the
Yeah.
New Jersey game of the century.
Yeah.
And so I do think that there's like a neat like vindication for my dad that like now everybody has a very different perspective of you know who he got to know him, like, and what
Yeah.
an incredible guy he is. And
Yeah.
but the other thing that's really cool is, like, my brothers all coach, and that's awesome, but he's probably got 100 guys out there that coached for him,
Yeah.
went on to be great coaches, and then that tree spreads out, like all the
Yeah.
guys that coached with me or my three
Yep.
brothers, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
guys like John DePalma, who was an elite coach, who's now coaching my brother Nick. But like
Yeah.
when he was 23 years old, my dad gave him his first coach, and then Roger Cutlars, who just left Wayne Valley and went to
Yeah.
Marist College. But like Roger, his first job out of college was working for my dad. Like, how many great coaches he spawned, and like that impact, like, it's an exponential impact on the world. It's like really an
Yeah.
amazing thing, like
Yeah.
when you think like this guy's a lunatic and he coaches like a maniac, and then all these guys branch off and coach, like, and that, in their own way.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool thing that's part of his legacy,
Yeah.
and I'm really proud to have been, a part of, helping spread
Yeah.
that,
So
so
imagine if you got all those guys in one room. You'd probably fill up the carrier dome.
yeah, it's a big room.
You could think if all those tentacles were, like you said, and you brought them all together, it's a ton of people,
Yeah, for sure.
and it started with one guy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Well, Nunzio, we talked about a lot of stuff, man. From going back to your high school days to your college days to your current days and where it's going. Uh, is there anything we haven't touched on you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
Not really, but this was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's just getting guys on like you on this show is what makes a difference. And getting your story out there, letting the world who know the details of what's going on behind the scenes. Because what everybody sees is they see the game, and they don't see all the work and all the dedication and, like you said, the sacrifice that goes on behind the scenes, and
Yeah,
for
no
you to
doubt.
get to where you're at, and it's fun to watch. As a fan, I'm a guy who sits in the seats and what goes to the games and watches. It's fun to watch the names continue to grow. And I can't wait to see you not just on the sidelines, but as the head coach somewhere. And that's going to happen soon.
Well, I appreciate that.
You know. So Nunzio, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck and go down there and kick Tennessee's butt.
That's the goal. All right, man. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Let's make it happen.
All right. Take care.